Well, hey there. Welcome to the Paw Paw Chronicles and more with Jim. Now I'm down to the live wire as far as being at the end of my grafting for this year. Now what I want to do is a graft on this piece of wood right here, or this rootstock rather, that had been shared last year at the Paw Paw conference, in which it'll be shared this year also. And it's a graft that was presented by Cliff England. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my snips, and I'm just going to come down a little lower. I wanted to do a close-up on this graft. And let me stand up here. I think I can work better if I'm standing. Oh, I'm on a hill, makes it kind of rough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come on this back side to my left, and I'm going to cut a slice upwards. And then I'm going to come on this side, opposite side, and I'm going to slice downward. Mosquitoes are bad. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of this bark. Now I'm using a knife to grab the bark. I'm not touching the green part underneath that bark. That's cambium. And I'm going to peel it down. And you can see that's nice and wet. And then I'm going to cut a whip. Try to make it nice and long. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my scion, which is pretty close to the same size as that, and I'm going to cut a whip on it. And that's actually too close to that bud. I had 3 buds. Let me back it off to just 1 bud. Or 2 buds rather, I'm sorry. There we go. It gives me more room to work. And I'm going to cut a whip on this one. But what I'm going to do with this on the back side, I'm going to nick it. And while I got it nicked, take a thin layer off of there. Now, one of the things that I like to do is put the parafilm on here first. and I only want one layer across that bud. Now what I'm doing is I'm grafting root suckers out here that have been cut loose from parent trees. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the two together, and this bark flap I'm going to bring right back up. Real quick. You can see the green on that scion. I wanted that exposed so the scion that's inside this bark can touch it and say hello to it. For me, it is kind of tricky to keep that in place while I'm wrapping it. And we're going to get another piece of parafilm, but I got a little bit thicker parafilm right here. It's a little stiffer. And we're going to give it good coverage with this parafilm here. I could put the rubber band on there, but I like to have it covered up with the parafilm, because the parafilm gives me a good even coverage. It's a modified bark. Bring it down all the way where the slice is. And then I'm going to bring it back up, and I'm pulling on the parafilm to tighten everything back together. It'll heal. It'll scar. Like I said, Cliff showed this graft at the conference last year, and I decided to give the graft a try. I've tried it on a number of grafts, and one thing I have found, it really works good on a bigger stick. I'm pretty high up here to be putting a graft on here, higher than I normally would be, but I was looking at size of scion. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a rubber band out here. And I'm going to use a broad rubber band. And because it's so long, I'm going to cut that rubber band in half. So I don't think I need all that. Now all we got to do is wrap it up. That wide rubber band is a heavier gauge than the thin blue ones that I use, and it'll give me that tension that I'm after. If you notice, I'm stretching that rubber band pretty tight. Give it 2 wraps. There's a 3rd wrap, and you see how that's twisting right here? I don't want that, because whenever this tries to grow, it'll girdle and it'll cut into that. Having the rubber band flat gives it a little give. That was 3 wraps. Down to 2, and then 1, because I'm working with a shorter piece. And you notice I went down it, I'm going back up it. When I wrap it extra like that, it gives me more constriction. It'll constrict around there, and it's going to squeeze everything together. Now I'm going to tie it off. Now with these wider rubber bands, the easiest way I found to tie them off and try to keep it flat is I'll just put my finger underneath there, tuck it, and there you have it. Now put my tag on there. I've got 3 of them here together, and all 3 have been grafted over to a Potomac. And this is meant for scion wood. I have a fence that'll be big enough to wrap around all 3 to keep deer backed off. And we want to protect our grafts so that nothing can get to them. I decided to put these in a group so I can have control of what this variety is, and I know what that is later on down the road. Anyways, just something that I wanted to show you. My name's Jim. If you like what you see, subscribe. Don't forget to click on that bell for any notifications. Any comments or questions you may have, I welcome.